Hello, Jason, Trisha, John, and Alec. Thank you for your time today. I wanted to provide you a quick overview of the work I've accomplished over the past 2 months on my proposal. As you can see, there's a new title which focuses on building professional capital within the international schools. And additionally, you will see 3 revised research questions. Over the past 2 months, I've looked at approximately 20 different theoretical frameworks. For the focus of my dissertation, my focus will be hinged on the organizational leadership theory of professional capital as defined by Hargreaves and Fullen in 2012, and the application of this theory in reference to the international schools. Professional capital is comprised of 3 different components. One is the human capital, which is really centered around the individual assets and abilities that an individual teacher brings to a school. Additionally, it is comprised of social capital, which is the assets and skills and qualifications of the entire group of educators. And then finally, the third component is decisional capital, which is educators' ability to make discretionary judgments about developing their own expertise. Once my research on organizational theory on professional capital was completed, I examined all the tested instruments from Hargreaves and Fullen on professional capital. To the right, you'll see one of their most recent books on professional capital, and to the right, this is a survey. This one is specifically just for teachers on professional capital. Upon further examination, some of their questions were not relevant to international schools, for instance, this first one, nor were they necessarily relevant to professional development. Although those were few and far between, there were some that just needed to be eliminated. To do this, I created a spreadsheet, which I shared with you for closer examination in the email that I sent to you. I wrote down all the different questions here and listed them. Then I looked at the relevance to the international schools, created my own rationale and why I thought it was relevant or not relevant to the international schools. Then I looked at the relevance to professional development, looked again at the rationale and of my own thinking at the time, and recorded that. Then I listed whether I was going to use it in the teacher survey and whether it was aligned to the research questions. From there, I aligned Hargreaves and Fullen's instrument with my own professional capital and professional development survey, which is also attached in the email for further review. If you recall, in phase 2 of my study, I would be conducting interviews. I aligned my interview protocol questions to the professional capital instrument as well, and these are also attached for further review in the attached email. I wanted to provide the committee 2 different options to consider for the study. A is my preferred option. This includes 3 ERCO schools that were originally proposed in my last proposal. There are 2 different phases of the study. Phase 1, as we talked about, would be the surveys of the international teachers, and this would be shared with approximately 600 international teachers combined in between the 3 different schools. Phase 2 of the study would be interviews. There'd be 5 interviews from each school, totaling 15 different interviews of international teachers. Within the interviews, my aim is to pull 5 teachers from each of the following age groups. Hargreaves and Fullen's research has kind of divvied up the different groups that they're looking at in these 3 different ages on how to best build professional capital within schools. Option B is an alternative option that Jason and I have been talking about, and I wanted to just throw it out there as an option for you to consider. I could potentially survey all the international schools, or at least a large section of them. I have spoken to the founders of 21st Century Learning, and they've agreed that they would be willing to send out my survey to their database of international schools. The survey would then be sent out to approximately 8,000 international teachers throughout the world. This would give me, they estimate, about a 10% return based on previous surveys that they've sent out in the past. From there, I would put together 15 interviews of all Air Coast International teachers and interview from there. Obviously, there are pros and cons to each one of these options. Option A is a smaller group size. It's a more controlled group, and it's a group of schools that possibly may have a larger stake in professional development. They spend a lot of money on professional development. When I look at all the international schools, it's going to be varied in the amount of money. The 3 schools that I had originally proposed in option A have similar budgets, similar PD experiences, and would have a similar control group as far as experience of teachers. Some cons to that could be that it could be school dependent, it could just be looking at the elite schools, and it could have a limited perspective. For option B, it would have a much larger variation of international schools and much a larger variety of experiences coming from the different teachers. My only concern here is it could be a little bit more bean counting than actually getting at the depth of what international schools are doing and how they're building professional capital through professional development. So here's the big question. Are we theoretically okay for me to move forward and make revisions to chapters 1, 2, and 3 of my proposal? Please let me know so I can proceed as needed. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email me or Jason or all of us, whatever works best for all of you. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Bye.